everything, content of everything.
Police officers are approaching a bag alone.
Camera, don't worry about anything, all right?
But let me tell you, let's get back to data metrics. The only two numbers we know that matter is all those capitalisms can be mathematically abstracted into inflation and employment. Capitalism serves to get a low inflation, high employment culture.
Wait, but why is inflation constantly rising then?
No. The name of the game is how to tame inflation and provide full employment. That's the two levers of the capitalist system.
Okay,
we have no perfect capitalism yet, but we haven't had full employment and low inflation.
Okay, and the state is only in control of police, military, and jury. That's it.
Yes, correct.
Not even.
What?
Not even. In some cases, you would have private military or semi-private military.
Well,
or
if you're
private
an
police.
ANCAP, if you're an ANCAP, then that's so.
But there have been no ANCAP societies for obvious reasons.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying. No, I'm just saying that examples exist, right?
Yes, yeah. Theoretically, you could have ANCAP.
Also, what you said about inflation and employment, right?
Yes.
Sure, but wouldn't you agree that those are arbitrarily chosen
No,
indicators?
that's what the maths tells us, that the best macro model of money for all the world's money. Remember?
So
the
what?
entire world's wealth is now larger than any one country, including the United States, number one, China, number two.
Yeah.
And the global markets around the world...
You mean in GDP?
Yeah, I mean the global market of all the trade connected together,
Right.
different countries of capitalism give me two top levers for a country.
Sure,
If I
but-
control my money supply, I want full employment for all the chimps, and I want a low, steady inflation society.
Okay, I have a question then.
And
Why?
countries fail at different levels.
Sure.
Zimbabwe, 70% unemployment,
Right.
hyperinflation.
Right.
Sweden, low inflation, high employment.
Okay, so but let me ask you this:
Hail
why
capitalism.
why would you choose inflation and jobs or employment? Thank you, as your sort of base measurement. And before you cut in, why wouldn't you take something like well-being, equality, or quality of life?
Because those two seem to be the highly correlate to being able to run successful countries where your metrics emerge.
How come
So if I
China?
take the world's Gini index for happiness, and I correlate the world's Gini index for well-being and happiness, and then I correlate that against capitalism, guess what? Capitalist countries are the best place to be.
Here's the
Can I
problem.
also ask you-
countries have more depression.
Can I ask you?
Wait, before you continue, just one thing, guys. We might get off track, and I want to retort. That's okay.
I can respond.
Right. So, why, if that's true, okay. First and foremost, part of the reason why you wouldn't have a correlation that would indicate otherwise is that your data sample set is that of countries that are not capitalist.
193.
Yeah, but sure. But the overwhelming number of countries overall are just capitalist.
No, they're different forms.
No.
Thank you. Different forms of capitalism. We came back to it.
Not different forms.
It is.
It's Keynesianism, basically.
No, not all.
No.
Oh, come on.
Most countries work under a somewhat...
Keynesianism, like we're in the 21st century.
Most countries work on a mixed economy.
Dead. Like,
it has some
Keynesianism
capitalists.
is dead.
I mean, Keynes is dead, but I'm saying his principles have
I'm saying
not worked well at
saying-
all.
Well, no, I agree. But
Most countries in the West on capitalism. It's a mixed economy.
it's a mixed economy.
Mixed
yeah.
economy.
So there's some
Thank you. Yeah,
form of
exactly. It's mixed
government.
economy.
And a lot of it is socialist elements. Into
Sorry?
it. A lot of it is socialist elements, like
Well,
central,
any-
central banking.
Right, any system has socialist elements.
No.
Yes. Pure capitalism is
That's
basically
what I mean
a
by
myth.
Keynesianism.
No.
is
I
that-
told you, if it's the states is just control of jury, military, and police. That's
Is
pure
that your preference
What
or?
about education? What about healthcare?
No, that should be private.
Yeah, that could be
No,
private.
but it isn't private. The state's.
Yeah, no, we're not arguing that the status quo is
It
capitalist.
is. Oh,
yeah,
well, it
yeah,
should
yeah.
be. You're saying it
Yeah,
should
yeah.
be.
As an
I'd like it
nationalist,
to be.
I would have strong social policy.
Why wouldn't
I think
everything be?
I'd
Why
privatize
wouldn't everything
railways.
be private?
Because there are some areas where it is useful for a government to have monopoly over it, like the police, like the
Why
safety
wouldn't it be
law.
education then?
Military.
Why not?
How can the military be privately owned?
I think
It's
capitalism
going
is
to be a lot
very
of
good.
mercenaries. We're going
I
back
mean,
to-
Education
you have.
serving
I mean,
in
the military-industrial complex
100% capitalist
is
country.
actually
It's
partially,
never existed. No.
it's not privately owned. Sorry, it's not government owned, it's privately owned.
How?
Like, for military contracts, or military supply.
Yeah,
or
there are like private military.
No, but they're suppliers.
Technology, for example, that.
No, it
benefits
goes beyond technology.
but technology that benefits the military, privately, that's a good idea.
Look, the only thing that is truly not state-owned is basically, it's not like training isn't always state-owned, technology isn't always state-owned, information technology is not.
The only thing.
Yeah,
Imagine the
sure.
state
The only,
making
the only thing, that is state-owned basically is deployment.
is the what?
Deployment.
Deployment.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So that is the actually, if we're using
Well,
the USA.
strategy, military strategy.
Yeah. So if we're
But hang on, in terms of money, it's a defense budget that goes to the private sector.
Sure.
The defense budget is owned by the national government state.
Sure.
So the Pentagon could outsource 100% of its spend, and it would still be probably be owned.
Yo, but
bills.
if you're applying that logic, then agriculture, the IT industry, the steel industry, any subsidized industry would still be.
No, not subsidized, because they trade against each other too. When the
Sure,
government
so do
doesn't.
military contractors.
No, but I'm saying I could trade with you. The
Yes.
government can trade with you, and
Yes.
the government trades with me. So you pay your council
Yes,
tax.
and so do
But
military
the government's not
contractors.
involved in my trade with you. Like I could give him £20 right now.
Right?
And the
But
government's
wait,
not
even
involved.
military contractors between each other trade without government.
Yes, but what I'm saying, there's private P2P private trades, and there's trading that you do by taxation and services.
Sure,
to the
sure.
government.
Yeah, like there's a reason it's
Sure,
called
but
His
it-
Majesty's
Sure,
Navy,
but
His Majesty's Army.
if you look at that, the actual state of independent actors is actually minuscule if you include subsidies as a sort of like if you include that as a basis for not being free trade. Should I repeat
Say
that?
it again.
Yeah, sorry. So if you include things like subsidies as government involvement or as sort of indicator of something not be free market, then very, very, very few sectors would actually be free market.
Right.
Because even if you look at IT, which is sort of your background, a lot of revolutions and a lot of technologies were developed primarily through government funding and
No, my
government
research
subsidies.
I did in the States was DARPA funded.
And that's a good example of something not being, but most of it is. And also, by extension, and what I mean by extension is, for instance, you would have companies that receive government subsidies, but then they have private funds for open innovation or
So
even
it's a
like
bit off
in-house.
track, but in the general sector, there's three models of the sector. If you sectorize an economic model, there's public, private, and there's community-based. So of course, government trades to us, paying council tax services. We trade with each other, and then businesses trade with the government. Right? But the government is not involved in our trades. So when
It is.
when
It mediates those
no, only
trades.
by taxation.
And more than taxation, because the laws of mediation of trade are
Regulation.
essential.
Regulation of the market. That's all the government does, right?
Sure. I mean, like,
if I
And
sold you this
inflation
for a pound-
directly through central banks.
No, but right now in the capitalist system,
Fiat
I
and
can
all
sell you
that.
this for a pound. The government's not involved in that transaction.
in what transaction?
If I get given this for a pound, the government is not involved in the transaction.
Who
Well-
made the pound?
Huh?
Who created the pound?
Who created the system for
But
exchange?
that's different. That's how to look at currency. You look at currency. But in terms of the system of exchange, if I traded with him for a pound for this, the government's not involved. But if I go and park my car somewhere, the government's involved in the meter. The government's implying the parking meter transaction.
Is the government not there to enforce those values of that pound and that? Are they not there to do that?
Only they own the monetary system of their country. If they've given up their monetary lever, like the euro, then they have to act as a bloc. If they're independent like Britain or other countries, then they have their
I'll be back.
levers.
I need
But
to
the
find
globalist
someone.
system is still the enemy. Because the globalist system is bigger than any national country.
So in our case, we've got most of our money is created by private banks, if I'm not mistaken.
We are subservient to the global system right now.
Yeah, and the corporations, as soon as they might have gone on top by means of being successful private companies, but as soon as they get on top, then they no longer become private because they become connected to the government
Is
and
this
the
kind of
bankers.
Are you talking about crony capitalism or this sort of crony?
It's not capitalism because it's no longer because they're trying to stamp out any competition from any new companies rising.
Well,
on
I'd
their
be
own
curious
merits.
to get your opinion on this, lads, because I've been reading about the various contradictions within capitalism. I mean, it's a very dynamic system; it's always changing. One of them is that creating monopoly is a form of competition. Wanting to stamp out the competition and create a cartel of like 5 big banks, for example, that's a valid form of competition.
Two things happen.
So competition leads to monopoly. It's a weird paradox.
I don't think
You
it
say
leads to
competition
monopoly.
leads to monopoly.
Ironically, it does. The more you consolidate your power, try to oust your rivals, you're more likely to consolidate more and more power into fewer hands, and then oust the competition.
But the people on top have no incentive of improving or becoming
See,
better.
so for
So it stifles.
But that's not even strictly true. If you look at the classes features of emergent structures of capitalism. One of them is a monopoly. But what dominates the world is oligopolies. 5 phone
It's the same
providers,
basic idea.
3 train providers, and they're sharing that. That seems to be the emergent property, not a plan made up by man before, of what happens when you put this type of capitalism together. Does it serve the common man? No, it does not. It serves them economically, but it doesn't serve them in terms of justice.
So would you all like to see these big corporations broken down into small businesses? Medium
All
sized?
nationalists would want Google to pay taxes.
So you want the state? Would you like the state to do that? To like
Correct.
force it?
I would impose strong tariffs and boundaries. I would say Google pay 30%.
So, certainly while everyone else is paying taxes, I wouldn't want corporations to get away
but
with
the
it.
issue is the state doesn't want those companies to turn into many smaller.
As someone who opposes corporatism, you would see this surely as a violation of capitalism. The fact that, I mean, it's almost a subsidy. When you're saying Google gets off without paying its taxes, you're essentially giving taxpayers' money away, aren't you?
No, but people confuse the right for being pure capitalists. We're not.
Sorry?
But people confuse the right or the conservative right for being pure capitalists, and we're not.
What?
We are nationalistic or social capitalists. First.
Does it not depend? I mean, some conservatives are very much in favour of free markets. Some of them are very much in favour of the state. The thing they seem to be united on, as far as I understand it, is this desire to keep a certain level of hierarchy in the social system. They believe that order and stability resides in hierarchy.
Hierarchy is just
And that whether it's the state enforcing that or the market, it doesn't really matter. The point
Hierarchy
is
is inevitable regardless.
They believe that it's inevitable.
No, but no, he can't make a good point. Not just believe, we proactively work towards it. I'll give you the 3 words mirrored. The left say inclusivity, diversity, and equity.
What do you mean by the left?
1 second. What does the right say in response? No to inclusivity, exclusivity. No to diversity, into, any guesses?
Homogeneity.
Yeah, even better than that. Yeah, you're in group here. And what's the third one? Equity. We don't believe in equity. We believe in meritocracy. If I work twice as hard as you, I don't want you to have equity.
I've been studying this phrase meritocracy, and I came across the man who came up with the phrase. The man who came up with the phrase meritocracy, if I'm not mistaken, you can check this out if you want to look. He actually was describing a dystopian society.
They can be dystopian versions of it.
Yeah, he wasn't actually very happy. The idea that you should get more just because you're smarter, or you should get more because you're more intelligent.
How about you work harder?
Well, that, even working harder.
And
You
you
didn't believe in
the
it.
show.
This is
didn't
how the Mongols managed to expand to the biggest land empire. It's because Genghis Khan, before Genghis Khan, it was all about nobles having the full power, and everyone who's not noble just stayed in their place. Genghis Khan changed the system where anyone, regardless of what birth they come from, he rewarded merit than birth, and therefore it allowed a professional army that was a lot more organised and had the best quality troops, and managed to conquer the world.
So do you think we have a meritocracy in Britain?
No.
Because we have a monarchy which doesn't really seem to.
meritocracy.
We have a what? Sorry.
A mixed meritocracy. It's meritocracy mixed with nepotism. It's meritocracy mixed with an old boy cigar.
My friend, like you mentioned Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan just became the new noble. Like he didn't like.
No, Genghis Khan was already of noble blood, but
Not really.
he promoted people down to their merit and not by their birth.
Not exactly,
So
actually.
the left. So someone on the left might. I don't know what leftists think about meritocracy. Some of them seem to.
Wait. What the fuck do you mean by the left? Like what?
They
The left.
with the
I'll define the
participation.
left as people who want to change society,
Those that really
value
show.
equality, value human rights. Well, it depends, because communism has a very
Extreme.
you can use these words however you want to. You can use communism to describe gulags and to describe Stalin.
Because you also mentioned a lot
Or you could use
about
communism to describe
right,
the
left,
Israeli
like,
kibbutzes.
Like that's not a delineation.
So it
at
depends
all.
really how you.
But you see, inclusivity is
I'd say the left values, generally, as I understand the left, they don't value meritocracy. They value getting what you need and giving what you can, not getting what you put in.
And Roger Scruton wrote a book, right? The left unite around the immigrant, the transgender, against a community of needs. We need help, we need housing, we need shelter. We bear these common human rights. They're rights of needs. The right organize around a community of strength based on value.
And the great thing about
So
capitalism,
the left has always been a community of weakness. They've always actually valued.
Correct, yeah.
They've always valued actually looking after people,
perhaps
human
needs,
needs, the basic human needs that share us, that we all share together.
Correct.
And in that sense, if you're weaker and you can't provide, you're
Well,
disabled.
the right don't believe in that.
Or if you're an old person, or you're disabled, or you're young, if you're a baby or a child, these, which is a lot of the population. It's not like
But
a small
morally,
part.
the liberal
Then we
left
need to take care of these people. They can't fight and be entrepreneurs. They need to be looked
But Carl,
after.
if you plot the moral compass in all 5 dimensions, what's the difference between the left and the right?
I'd say the right generally want to keep the society the way it is. The left generally want to change
But
it.
if you get to
That's a
the
very
moral-
crude
no,
definition.
No, but I'm talking about moral analysis. So I do morality, you do the morality principle test on the conservatives versus liberals. The left care first, almost equally, but more than the right, on the care harm principle. The second moral dimension is justice and equal. Let's get the same size of pie. The bottom 3 dimensions, the left don't even agree. They're only about 20% from the conservatives, which is in-group, purity, and
So you're talking about the
hierarchy.
in-group.
So the left don't care about, the left don't care about burning the flag, shitting on the Quran. The left don't care about, hey, that person's not from my country. So the left have no hierarchy.
Wait, let's
So
define the
will
left, guys. I mean, like, that's kind of a
just
use.
the top 2 moral
Let's
dimensions.
actually agree on a definition so we know what we're talking about.
I mean, like, you're
when we talk
talking about
the left,
a lot about left and right. What? Right-handed, left-handed? Like, that's sort of like the broadest possible term you can ask.
It's a
It's
broad
all about
brush.
politics, so
No,
left
it's
and
a
right.
broad
in
brush.
politics.
it's a very broad general.
Okay, what would you define as right
At
politics?
the
What's
top,
left?
intellectually the top, the left is a continuum to being revolutionary. The right is a continuum toward being reactionary. It's the top level intellectual definition. So the furthest left is a revolutionary. Me on the furthest right, I'm also
So how do you explain the Nazi revolution and what happened there?
All right, can I buy into this? I don't think it should be a left or right. It's more of a tri-equality. So there's like a triangle. One corner is communism, the other corner is individualism, and the other corner is absolutism. Now, from an absolutist point of view, he thinks the individualist and the communist are just as bad as each other because they're ruining his idea of a world where everything is systematized and organized, and communism thinks individuals and authoritarians are the same because they don't accept their utopia, and individualists think that absolutists and communists are just as bad as each other because they're all collectivist and all the other things.
Can I ask you something? Have you got, so that's I'm really interested to hear this particular model to try and move beyond the left-right divide. But also, I'm interested in the notion of the libertarian left, libertarian right, authoritarian left, authoritarian
So I'm
right.
the authoritarian right. So most of the young chaps, people in their 20s, 30s, are either libertarian left or right. They're on the pipeline, as we call it, to becoming ANCAPs or anarcho-syndicate communists of some form. They've not bought the group collective of Marxism, and they haven't bought our group collective. We in the right like to pull them to that libertarian and move them up. The left tries to do the same thing tomorrow. What is the difference between the two of them? They believe in free life and free trade and the non-aggression principle as a way of organizing society. And their core libertarian principle is, if I don't harm you in the non-aggression principle, I can just emerge as society and capitalism will emerge as a result. The anarcho left believe, no, we also want this individuals, but we're going to kind of we're going to get like 60 people living in a Hackney house together.
What?
Sharing our
Are
beans.
you sure that you're
So they're
not
gonna
almost...
form-
Isn't that a straw
Yeah,
man?
I'm sure that's a caricature. You're comparing...
Come on,
No, I'm sure you're comparing...
But this
You're comparing principles to a caricatured image.
I'm sorry, I just had to. You couldn't
Well, here's
say
the
that.
thing.
I'll do that. I'll
If you're having a laugh, that's
one
fine.
thing
But
that-
if you want to have some
The one
integrity...
thing that individualists and absolutists can agree on is Darwinism.
Yes.
The left cannot accept it, almost destroys
They
the
can't
way
accept biological realism.
everyone is, no matter what person you are, what gender, what race, there's no such thing as equal.
And the
They're not
Hold
equal.
on, what do you mean by equality? So this guy asked about what leftism meant. I'm interested in this phrase equality because there's equality in the sense like, you and I are different. You and I are different.
Yeah, well, no, there's nothing equivalent.
But then there's
to
equality as in like we've got the same rights.
Are different.
Like you've got the same rights as I do, even though you look different and you maybe are different.
But maybe that's what Jamie's trying to say. Well, we believe in the reactionary right, which is our new right, that the left have yet to respond to. We believe in a thing called biological realism from science. So we believe we are, as human beings, evolved from these creatures, and the differences between race and gender, ethnicities, human propensity to be lazy and all, are shown up from our biology upwards. This is heritage.
That sounds more like eugenics than...
Where's the evidence for this in science? Because I
Oh,
don't
that's
see...
shit, man.
James,
That's like probably the worst
greatest living scientist
position you
has
can
found
take
it
when it
over.
comes to
The man who
evolutionary
discovered
biology
Eugenics and
and
DNA
anthropology.
is your living caricature.
Because it's kind of like,
Is he the one
how
who's
do I
being
say
so
this?
cast out of
the
the...
one who discovered
one
DNA.
conversation
The
aside.
one
Yeah.
our
Okay, but
greatest
is
living
he the
scientist.
one who's been
Good
like cast out of the
Correct,
biology?
because the left cannot accept biological realism. Because you know why?
If you want to make an argument for authority, are you sure that using authority who's been completely discredited is a good authority to use?
The man who discovered the DNA, the greatest living scientist, needs no authority from the left.
Just because he discovered DNA doesn't make him a...
Okay, here comes-
it doesn't actually make him a very particularly knowledgeable
I'm
person,
sorry,
I guess.
but
But he's just surfacing the science. You ask me where does the
The guy-
science?
can I tell you
And
something?
he's not,
telling you about
and he's
the
not,
science.
and he's not racist. He may be autistic
Yeah,
in the sense that
unfortunately he
he cannot. He's like Sheldon Cooper. You know, he cannot help but just be mean because he only wants to speak about facts.
But the deeper picture, here's the
Wait,
model.
facts and your attitude are kind of like those are like
race and IQ.
they're not correlated at all.
No.
race
You
and
could
IQ.
be someone who doesn't care about being social, but you just want to talk about objective stuff, even if it's
That's
gonna
just being
hurt
a social
people.
that has nothing to do with how
Okay,
factual
but that
you are.
notwithstanding, for example, his observation.
I mean, sorry, but you're kind of conflating certain things
but
that don't
that's
need to be.
You're not making an argument from evidence, you're making an argument from authority. Your authority is James, what is his name? That's your authority. Now you've got to question, is that a valid authority?
Well, but
Because that authority,
he's utterly... People just
Okay,
going
fair
to dismiss him
point.
as
But let's
racist.
get rid of it, let's get
Trying to
rid of it.
explain
No,
to him.
That may not be true.
But
Maybe he's
Carl,
not racist.
okay, Carl.
But is he a very valid authority still? Even if he's not racist,
Okay,
he's
but
still a
Carl,
valid
DNA, I
Carl
think
is
he's
right,
not
but
good.
let's forget the
And he's
abuse
got high
authority.
IQ as well.
But forget
So he discovered DNA, so everything he says about DNA must be true. Is that what you're saying?
No, but you're sticking the point of pure to authority.
Is that what you're saying?
No.
Because he discovered DNA, then everything he says about DNA must be
No,
true.
but
I think he's got a good authority to speak about what he
he
discovered.
does.
Wait,
But
but
he's-
here,
forget the
here,
abuse authority argument.
That
All we
intelligence
have to
doesn't
do is
mean you have to
This is
be.
too many. I need to
right.
have some clarity about who's speaking at the same time. Can you say something? Can we go one at a time? So we can
Let
hear
me
each other.
respond to your point. If we take the appeal to authority, which you're correct, even though it's Albanian studies, you're correct. Let's not argue about the appeal to authority, park them aside. Every single entrance examination test, every single data point to race and IQ differences being genetic. That's what the left cannot accept.
I'm interested in this idea that race doesn't
did you
actually
say,
exist.
sorry?
Yeah, we're all
Race and
actually
race
hold
and
on.
IQ,
We're all
so
actually
do
basically
genders.
Africans.
Men and women
We all
have
come from
different
Africa.
No. If you accept...
I can't accept that one.
You don't have to accept
Wait,
it.
what?
See what I mean? The left
I
cannot
can't
accept it.
But I didn't get what you say.
No, but
I'm
sorry,
not
either right
define
or
race.
left,
Race
but you're
doesn't
saying
necessarily
that
exist as
because
an idea.
a black person would be less intelligent or there'd be different trends compared to a white person,
Correct, and men
compared
and
to an
women.
Asian.
And men and women. So men and women's
can't
bell
agree to
curves
that.
are there more genius men
That's
and
saying
dumber men.
naturally. That's saying naturally.
And
people are
races
more
have a
intelligent
five-shift
than
Where's the evidence for this idea?
all over the place.
All over the place. Can you
All
tell
over
me
the
one
place.
such
Is it on that
Start.
tree, mate?
No, go Google, start. Obviously, you guys have
So
read
you're
none
going
of
to
the
cite Google
literature.
as your...
Yeah, go to Google and start with this. You obviously have read nothing.
So, can I ask you something? Do you think that's likely to persuade someone to say, check out Google?
Well, okay, let's walk
If
through
you're
it.
here at Speaker's Corner to exchange ideas.
I'm happy to walk you through it. So, do you know how many genes there are in a human being?
I don't actually know the number, no.
Okay, so okay, let's go through the data first. So, a human being can be thought of a machine with 20,000 long genes. We all have 20,000 genes, like a banknote number. 97% of those genes are the same. We all have 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 heads. But maybe 2%.
Same with a chimpanzee, by the way.
Correct. 96 with a chimpanzee, 9996. So if you look at the
Like
differences-
70% with a potato, isn't it?
Yeah, but the difference in those
I
genes,
don't know the number,
but the difference in those genes give rise to differences in behaviors and differences in groups. And we can correlate that across race and gender.
Because our
genes code for behaviors.
base
What
pairs
else
of
would they
DNA
do?
is different.
When you say that genes code for behaviors, I'm very intrigued. So
do you know, let's
I'm
take
learning
some
your
examples.
position on this now. I didn't know this was actually...
So let's take some examples.
Do you want to tell me a specific gene that codes for a specific behavior?
So it's not one gene, it's a clusters of genes.
Okay, well, a cluster of genes
so
that codes for
so
a
the way
behavior.
it works
Which
is
can change
a set
over
of
time.
genes will give you a
So it's kinda
percentage
useless.
how
It's
that
environment.
gene and environment behaves. So every trait we have has a certain percentage that's hereditary by genes and certain
Do you want to give me a specific
So
example?
let me give you 2 examples. IQ has about this 516 genes for intelligence, and we can
Which
see
is
genetic
80%
differences. Yeah, of those 516 genes we've isolated, we know they do intelligence and they show up in racial differences. For men and women, for example, their genes that show up differently are morphology. The left, and here's the point, the left don't want to look at any of these things.
Can you
as
point me to a book, a
explanatory.
specific book I could look at to see if this is true?
Everything you can start. Start with the bell curve.
You said the left haven't
Everything.
looked
So
at
I
it.
can open. Oh,
Well,
sorry.
I mean, you can start with any basic. Obviously, you guys don't know anything about
Look up
genetics.
turd flinging monkey.
What I know about
Turd
genetics,
flinging
let me tell you
monkey.
what I know about it. So according to Robert Sapolsky, who's a sort of leading
Oh, it's an
neuroscientist and
YouTube sense.
his name is Robert Sapolsky. He's an academic.
The lecture.
He's an academic at Stanford.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
went to his lecture.
Wait, give me.
Okay, so if you read the first, if you look at the first,
He makes it quite clear that genes do not
Wait,
code
wait,
for
wait,
behaviors.
give me-
Genes code for proteins.
They
They don't code for particular behaviors. So what they do is they allow certain proteins to develop, which then may have an effect on behavior. The question he's interested in is how to move beyond the debate between nature and nurture, because that's a very old 19th century way of modeling it. The question now is a much more fluid, dynamic question of the relationship between the environment and the individual. It's not to say that the environment decides everything about us, and it's not to say that genes decide everything about us. It's to say that there's a relationship. So one way to put it, I heard at Durham University in a lecture, was this idea of genes loading the gun, and environment pulls the trigger.
Correct.
So you may have a gene, for example, Robert Sapolsky talks about this in the documentary Zeitgeist Moving Forward. He says, there's a so-called gene for violence you heard about in the media. But actually the interesting thing is if you take people who have this gene for violence, so-called gene for violence, and you raise them in an environment with parents who are loving, caring, kind, and so on, they turn out to be less violent than the average person.
But you almost think
that's remarkable.
But you almost
that says something about our DNA and how it relates
no, but
to
you're almost
the
trying to claim
environment.
that the environment can override. Implicit
No
in what
one's
you
saying
said,
that. That's not what I
it's
said.
almost some devotee notion of look how the environment can transcend my hair, Sam.
If I may interject, please.
That's not what I said.
This is almost irrelevant. And what I mean by irrelevant is that you can take, okay, I'm not granting this is true, but let's just assume this is true. This literally tells me nothing if I choose any certain individual in any context, let's say for a job interview, and he might be whatever race, color, background, etc. Even if these sort of, even if the sort of p-value is true, that doesn't tell me at this job interview whether a white person will be more intelligent than a black person, whether a woman or a man will be more intelligent. In this case, their ability to do a job has jack shit to do with their background, evolution, let me finish then again. Because it really, even if you have this distribution, you'll have a distribution of other things as well, other elements.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, your ability to predict whether someone will going to be doing this job or not is a beyond supercomputer task. And here's the problem: even if I take two random people out of the population and put them in for an interview for a job,
You could literally, there's software that I work in recruitment. There's software that I use.
Yeah, just
you can scan a CV, and it deems people's suitability for the job. So that's just
I can't tell you.
Wait, let me finish first. Just because a let's say a stock population is more capable, less capable.
Sorry, so I can hear properly.
Right, doesn't tell you whether a single person is going to be better or worse
But
for
can
a
I give you
job.
answer quickly? Do you know what the single predictor is for success in employment? The top two things.
Okay.
Conscientiousness and
We're writing the
IQ.
circle of it. Just to,
Conscientiousness.
we want to get more people involved.
Conscientiousness. The two biggest predictors. Pavlov was it. Pavlov is it.
Kyle in the same conversation.
Right,
I gotta be in this conversation.
Sorry, but
So let
why
me
is
answer
this?
your question.
Sorry.
The two biggest predictors for success, correlated with many cross studies, is conscientiousness and IQ.
Sure,
If
but
IQ
why is that
has
relevant? Why is it relevant to any system?
Let me answer your question. So if I wanted to, for example, and now employment cannot use things that are illegal to classify, what they're doing, and you might be able to help me, is giving people the fake equivalent of an IQ test.
What you
to
give
screen
people,
them.
there's a test.
Because that's the biggest
Hold on.
success predictor.
What you're
There's a
talking
test,
about,
yeah?
it's
Large
not
corporations.
illegal. It's not illegal, but it's called positive discrimination.
Yes.
Where you use
Yes.
certain criteria. So
To
that's not an even play.
No, but you want to
determine it.
If I'm going to tell you I want to discriminate,
So the test
I
is
want
called a
to
mixed,
hire
it's a
them.
mixed
I
prior.
agree with this.
Sorry, I can't.
I said the test is called a mixed prior test. So it's like
What test is that?
I don't think
it's a test which has to
Do you know
be
what I mean? This idea of genes producing behaviours.
Normally it's used in training rather than
The idea that
employment.
genes
So you wouldn't
create
test somebody
behaviours.
at
It needs to be
interview stage.
corrected, 'cause it's just
You
not-
test them when
Inclinations
they're
are one
already
thing,
employed
behaviours
or
are another.
Can I just ask everyone, is it a genetic reason of why sub-Saharan Africans are faster runners?
Sorry?
Is it a
Yes, it is genetic.
Sub-Saharan Africans are
Sorry?
faster
So
runners.
we accept that those physical traits are genetic, that sub-Saharan Africans are superior runners, right?
Not all sub-Saharan Africans. Not all
You get the main gist. So
So I get the no, but these
runners. Marathon
Well, how do we
No,
how
but
do we
listen,
know
listen.
that?
because they got longer legs, they got
Also, what is a
high
sub-Saharan
testosterone,
African?
they
What
got
is that?
denser bones.
I've got a book.
We're all Africans. We're all sub-Saharan Africans.
Yeah,
I've got a
and
book.
if we trace back further enough, we're fixed.
We all eat. Yeah, we
Well,
all
I've got a
get
book.
East
I've got a
Africans.
book. It's called
Okay,
The
guys, we
Secrets
need
of
to
the Kenyan
specify
Marathon.
which
So I'm a
sub-Saharan-
runner,
Do you know
so I was
that East
interested in
Africans
that.
have less in common with, like, genetically with South Africans than they do with like,
Yeah, I
white
know
people and
that.
English people?
Yeah, I know that. But
Do you know that? There's more diversity
But have you
within
noticed
Africa.
all the
Yeah,
musicians running winners like Kenyan,
So when you talk about
Ethiopian?
Africans, what does that even mean? Like, we're all
Right, go on
Africans.
Wikipedia.
Okay, and?
Fastest runners.
Does that mean
Always
there are no
consistently
champion
of that
white?
area of Africa?
Middle Eastern runners?
that is like
They're not.
Still get, still they are.
It's always a
So
car.
now you're talking
Sorry?
fast.
But still they are.
That doesn't make sense. It's
Substance
generally
stability, man.
black people who are fast.
It's
not-
Africans.
I
It's not
disagree.
African.
That's why I said
I
sub-Saharan.
disagree.
You can disagree all you
So
want.
That's why I said
I think
sub-Saharan.
Reese is talking
The
about
facts
things
are
like
not.
this.
The facts are there.
The facts don't agree with what you're
Shall
saying.
we have a race now?
The facts do not agree with what you're saying.
There are certain countries in the world, and these countries are, one of the countries is located around in the mountain of Kilimanjaro. Around the mountain of Kilimanjaro, there's a rarer concentration of oxygen, which is why people who live there consume less oxygen. They don't need as much oxygen as the other people, as most people around Earth.
You've got a better lung.
Plus, better lung capacity. Also, they united themselves certain qualities which make them taller, which make them slimmer, and which make them better runners.
Why is that? What's that down
Why
to?
is that?
What's that down to?
What is that?
They hunt down prey. They hunt down prey for market
Yes, it's genetics. Why is it genetics? Because of the environment they live in. The environment they live in shaped them in the way they are. And that's why they are better runners.
It's the same with intelligence.
It has nothing to do with the black race or the white race or the whatever race.
A white man who lives in that same environment wouldn't be able to run as fast
A
as
white
a black
man who would live in the same
It's
environment
not
would
just down to that.
eventually
It's
develop
not just down
more
to
and
that.
more
It's because
melanin
we have
with
extra
time.
bones in our feet, etc.
If a white man lived in sub-Saharan Africa for millions of years, he would eventually start developing features like a black man. Yes, he would. Yes, he would. That
Your
most
genetics
definitely
don't
would.
allow you to. We're going to go off subject, but your genetics don't allow you to morph into a black man. It allows a black man to morph into a white man. It doesn't allow a white man to morph into a black.
Maybe over sufficient time.
How is that so?
Okay,
That's
so
science. That is science. Your
it's
genetics
not
are your
the science
genetics.
I'm aware of, and not the science that is in
please
practice.
go back
I'm
to
afraid.
GCSEs because that is basic science.
But wait, good one, good. Nice pun, nice
It's
pun.
not a
there.
pun,
Nice
it's a
pun.
fact.
It is
do you
a
mean
pun.
like melatonin concentration or something else more broadly?
What do you mean? What do I mean?
When you're saying like you cannot go from white to being black, you mean like just melatonin concentration in your skin?
Melanin.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you very much. You mean melanin concentration or something else?
All of that. You can't all of a sudden grow.
No, not all of a sudden. It's a work of millions of years.
Yeah.
Millions of years.
Well,
Maybe not millions,
one
but
individual.
thousands of years.
This is
Millennia.
what I think when people say Aborigines, they're black.
White people just became
Yes, they are.
They are furthestly.
All right, so
genetic group that's distantly
wait, guys.
But
We
you
are
could
talking
change
at the
one
same
thing.
time.
You don't have to
We're
mean
at the same time.
you can change one thing. You don't have to change everything.
What's the
right?
question?
So,
I think because there's
when you
this
said like you
thing
cannot
called
be, one person cannot become a black person.
Yeah, really, it's 11,000 years old.
So I think like white people just became
It's a common trait, right?
He is a.
You can train
He's like a dark-skinned
doesn't mean you're a black
European.
I'm not saying you are.
I like
I'm just
the
saying
straw man.
But he's got
this
blue
can
eyes.
happen, right?
I like the straw man.
It's not a
And
straw man.
the accumulation
I
of
was
these sort
saying
of
something else,
traits
like,
can bring you closer.
I'm saying
to
like
be more
complementing this
genetically
point
familiar
about
with
if
someone
people
than the
live
other.
in
I'm
a
not
certain
saying you've done a
environment,
conversion.
You can be familiar too.
Yes.
features
As
to
in,
suit that
we are
environment.
familiar.
Oh, they die. They get wiped out if they
It
don't.
doesn't make you a black man.
No,
that's what I was saying.
That's what I'm saying. All I'm saying is that you can approach the degree of familiarity.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and the thing about
I
IQ,
agree with that.
Fair enough.
IQ is not the way you're putting it.
The way?
The way you make it out to
So people who live, there's a reason why people who live in the northern hemisphere have higher IQs than people who live in the southern hemisphere. It's because in the north there are more environmental factors that are going to challenge the population.
So environmental factors.
And exactly, and that's why in the winter you have to prepare for gathering enough seeds, killing enough macedon. In Africa, the food's growing all year round. There's no reason to.
That's not true. That's so not true. That's so fucking
In some
weird.
part,
Say that doesn't make sense.
in some part of Africa,
in
in
this
some parts
world
of Africa,
that
it
the
does.
Africans
In others, it
built
doesn't.
that the modern day intelligent Caucasians can't understand how it was built.
Intelligent Caucasians, look at the puns.
It's
Look
not
at
a
the
pun,
puns
that's
from
called
this
quote
guy.
marks.
Quote marks. And why the quote marks?
Yes,
Intelligent
because you're saying
Caucasians.
because you're saying you're better than that's the reason
Did
why.
I say it?
Not you. But
Well, why are you saying
It's you.
intelligent Caucasians?
Because it's
why are
like
you
saying
linking me
intelligent
with
black
him
man.
just because
It's the same thing.
I never said intelligent black man.
I didn't say
No,
you.
he wasn't
Then
attributing.
why do you say
No,
Caucasians?
he wasn't attributing to you. He was
You-
making
you
fun
listen,
of him.
Okay. You shouldn't use overall
In your
race.
opinion.
Overall race.
This conversation is
overall
about race.
You shouldn't use overall race to link it to a certain characteristic you don't like. If you
This
don't
conversation
link
is
that
literally
characteristic
about
to more
if
than
black
one person
people are
of the
less
race.
intelligent than those who
Who
are
said
in.
that?
He did.
Did I say it?
No, you
but
joined in and you decided
Why
to
are
have
you
a
talking about the
conversation.
Caucasians? Why do you have to share his? You're sharing his opinion.
I said people
You
in the
are
Northern
sharing
Hemisphere,
his
by the way.
opinion.
It's not included
You're just
white people.
reversing his
Chinese
opinion.
people as
Wait, bro,
well.
don't you realize it? He's sharing the same opinion as his.
But he's reversing it.
Because you have.
I think he was being
those
ironic,
in Asia.
I know he's being ironic,
Then
but he's
why
making a
bring it
joke.
up if you know?
No, why is he making a joke that would insult him if it was reversed?
No, but he was actually prefacing that it would be.
Environmental.
Thank you. Never heard of the place. Is it good?
You don't speak, you don't get shit. How's that any different for preparing
No, I
for
accept
the cold?
shit.
It's
It's
the
just
same
that I call
thing. You
people
have
out
to
on
have that degree of intelligence to learn how to do that.
Because the people who live in the northern hemisphere, the people who do not adapt are going to die, meaning that people who do survive
People
are
who
going
don't
to
prepare for a monsoon are going to live.
Well, several times.
No, come on now. It doesn't make sense.
On the equator, if they don't adapt, they will die. Trust me.
I know, but I'm saying that
People in Britain who
So
don't
because
adapt.
you go
doesn't
for,
change the
because you
fact-
prepare for winter, it means you have more intelligence.
You're saying that people in the north don't have flooding as well?
Okay,
I'm not saying that, but your argument was
question. I need to
due to that. That's the reason why they're more
really like the
intelligent.
way this is
I'm saying
Not
that's,
just.
well, what else? What are
Conversation
the other
is
reasons?
dying
Because we've
Plagues,
explained how they're not the same. Plagues. You get plagues in South Asia, Southern Hemispherical countries.
But
So-
I'm saying that because the Northern Hemisphere already had an advantage over people, any plagues they had meant that the people who survived, meaning that they're going to propagate those genes, bringing a new
That doesn't make sense.
Okay, wait, is China
the
in the
bubonic
northern
plague
hemisphere?
wiped out
Yes.
like
You
a lot
consider
of
China
England.
is
So that
in
doesn't
the
make
northern
sense.
hemisphere?
Yes.
What?
China
It's
is in the
not.
Northern Hemisphere.
What?
Do you want me to show you a map of the Northern Hemisphere?
Sir, if it wasn't for melanin, really dark melanin, you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be here.
I don't know what that means.
Way
They
back.
wouldn't have survived. Exactly. They wouldn't have
No, but
survived.
that's like
What
way,
does
way
melanin
back.
do?
Yeah, but I have melanin too. It's just that I have less than you
It
do.
protects us from this. So
Yeah, I know,
your-
right?
Your cancers will come a lot quicker than
Dude,
mine.
are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Look,
He actually
this
might have
is-
a point.
This is the volcanic belt, right? Like the northern hemisphere.
Okay,
like even if
let's-
you go more.
Okay. Let's talk about this picture here. Oh fuck.
Can you?
Let's talk about this picture here. Northern Hemisphere. What's your claim? Tell me
People
your
in
claim
the
again.
Northern Hemisphere are going, on average, have high IQs than people in the Southern
Well,
Hemisphere.
first of all, there's more
That
Northern
doesn't make any
Hemisphere.
sense
That's the
whatsoever.
first part of the argument.
That does not make any
There's
sense.
more land.
Africa is enormous.
Huh?
Area per area. Africa
Oh, are
is
you
enormous.
joking? Like most of Africa is in the Northern Hemisphere. Let's be real, guys.
Northern Hemisphere. Look at that. That's how he has that slice.
Guys, okay,
That's the Southern Hemisphere.
No,
red bit.
this is the
tropics.
this is the
The
tropics.
tropics,
yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Now the equator goes in the middle of them. So most of Africa is in the Northern Hemisphere. Geographically, the most amount of land. I understand it's Sahara. It has less people than Sub-Saharan.
Most of Africa.
But most of African land is in the Northern Hemisphere, north of the equator. Look, the only place where there's more in the south than in the north is perhaps South America, because South America, there's more. Most of it is in the southern hemisphere.
Yeah, that's
Look,
a
guys,
very
the
good
thing
question.
is, there's much more land in the northern hemisphere. That's the first part.
And not population.
Not
several
inhabitable.
times
Not very
bigger than
habitable.
Huh?
Inhabitable.
It becomes
Besides,
uninhabitable.
Really
I think it comes down to the thing like. I'm sorry,
the
but
most
why the
habitable
fuck does
part
it
of
matter?
I don't know, but I'm
do you
just
care
going
about
in with
anything?
it,
Do you care
going
about
with the
society, civilization continuing and going into the stars?
Of course.
Our IQ is decreasing every generation. And
That's
if-
actually, you mean the Dunning-Kruger? That's actually bullshit. It's not decreasing.
No, it is decreasing.
Okay, give me a study that says the intelligence is decreasing.
I can't give you. This is how it works.
It's decreasing, but I can't prove it's decreasing.
No.
Oh, that way.
I can
wait,
prove, I can
let
prove,
him
I
say,
can prove
let him
it's
say.
decreasing because after the Industrial Revolution, because before the Industrial Revolution, the working class child mortality was like 40%. After the Industrial Revolution and better advancements in medicine, nutrition, that meant the working class are having as much children as the middle and upper classes. And then ever since the birth control was invented, less women who are of middle class origin are having children.
Okay.
Meaning that less people of high IQ are being born into this world, whilst the lower class people, their women are having children as teenagers.
But why is that?
And by the time they're in their 30s,
choices that are
they're
made
grandmothers. Meaning that the lower class people who are low IQ are outperforming them.
You're using
with
society to determine that
You
the
think
fact.
people are same IQ regardless of what class they are?
Depending on their environment.
I do believe, it does depend on the environment, depends on how they're raised, depends
And
on
when you measure
the
it,
systems
and if you
that they're
have-
incorporating.
I have to
It's not that I was born in England.
I have to agree with
You're
him
going
on
to have
one thing.
smart
When
children.
if people in the ruling
Yes,
class
because they will teach you
were
to be
as
smart. It's
intelligent
not
or
inherent.
stupider than the people
Your
in the lower
intelligence is-
classes,
your
then they
intelligence
would not be the rulers to begin
Your
with.
intelligence-
But through
Have you
what
ever
you learn.
Have you
Intelligence
ever
is
considered
education.
that
Americans
there
have
is
been trying
more
there for a long
to
time.
power
They
than
spent trillions
intelligence?
on it. They haven't managed to achieve it. Of course.
Yes, because their education system is
There's
flawed.
no, I would correct you.
They would say
There's
that
more to
that's
power
been-
than
you talk about
Yes.
there
is more to power than
sub-Saharan
IQ.
Africans. Sorry, 1 second. Where's
there's more to power than just
I'm not
IQ.
picking on Africa.
You said
Anyone on
sub-Saharan
the
Africa, the
belt.
sub-Saharan
Intelligence
on the belt.
defines power.
are
And
less
intelligence is much more than
then why
just
are the
IQ.
world's
Sure,
smartest
but, like,
doctors from Cuba, which is a part of the south of the Ukraine. Cuba. They discovered omega-3. They are being employed amongst the world to teach doctors. They
how
are
much Nobel Prize?
leading.
How much Nobel Prizes
That
has
does
Kenya?
not mean.
No,
that does
tell
not
me
mean,
how
that
much
does not
Nobel
mean
Prizes
anything.
has Kenya
That does
ever
not mean
brought?
anything.
one of the
That
poorest
does not
countries
mean
in the
anything.
world.
It does mean.
It doesn't mean
Yes, it
anything.
does.
I can give you an award for being the top.
Most Nobel Prizes
top
come from
runner
America
in the world.
and
Doesn't
Britain.
mean you are that.
That's a reason. There's a
Wait,
reason.
wait, wait.
So what you're
Just to
saying
give you
is
an
some of
example,
the
my
poorest
friend.
doctors
It's the
in
same
the
with
world
Jews. It's the same with
are credited
Ashkenazi
with some of the best
Jews.
research.
They have won copious amounts of Nobel awards and.
Have you ever considered that perhaps the Jews are an interesting example? Have you considered that maybe it's not their intelligence, maybe it's their culture,
Or
maybe
you're saying they're sneaky?
Ah,
You're saying they're
That's
sneaky.
not what he said. He said it's their culture. Look, don't put
That's
words
what-
into people's
I know,
mouths.
I know.
Don't
so
do
it's
that.
not a
Very
bad point at
dangerous.
all.
part of this reason.
Culture comes with the genetics
Part
anyway.
of the reason I'm saying this is because, for instance,
I don't allow people to
in-
stroke him, sorry.
Again,
He's harmless.
so part of the reason for that is that, for instance, in certain, like, let's say, doesn't matter, whatever culture, going into academia and devoting yourself to, for instance, something like discovery of the world or whatever, etc., and being educated is simply part of your culture. In my,
And the culture comes from your genetics.
Wait,
No, it does not.
Yes, it does.
Okay, guys.
Let's answer this and then we'll,
Let me just say one very short thing. The environment. Okay, guys. Listen to this. I think this is very important
Genetics
for
don't
the
make you
conversation.
because if you're adopted, does that mean that you must be of a less intelligent breed? If you then turn around, go on to be the most qualified doctor that there ever was, but you're adopted, does that mean you are genetically stupid? No, it does not. It's your environment.
We've done studies.
And what's happened is that this education
example.
system is a barrier. It's not an encompass. It's a barrier. It's a bubble.
I
What
can't
is
get
a
something
bubble?
out of it.
I'll
Studies.
Google it for you, bro.
No, they've done studies where people have taken from people from very low IQ populations into
Low
healthy
IQ
middle class background. They're educated. Their IQ does not make any
Okay,
sense.
so let's say we all agree with you. You're saying people of the Northern Hemisphere have a higher IQ.
On average.
Okay, so what does that mean then?
Well,
What is the end
IQ
game?
is essentially problem solving, pattern matching.
yeah. Do you want to go? Do you want advancements in technology? Then we're going to have to think about in long-term goals where we want to have a healthy population of people of high IQ reproducing.
How would you achieve that?
That's the question.
Oh, so you would eliminate them, you motherfucker.
No, I didn't
That's
say
a
that.
very.
I did not say that.
That's
I
very
did not say
That's
that.
very implied, and that's
I
very
did not
sneaky of
say
you.
that.
Speaking of
I
sneaky.
did not say that.
Yeah, but it's implied.
He's trying to lead into some type of stupid race versus race debate.
Bro, let me
That
tell you.
doesn't make
Let me
sense.
tell you this right now.
It doesn't
I
seem
don't care.
hard.
I don't give a shit about your or their intelligence.
Yeah.
I recognize them as sentient beings.
Oh, I do want the welfare state to continue as it is.
And
gonna
their
need
their
high
level,
IQ
look,
people to
like,
pay into the
their
system.
level of intelligence is irrelevant.
No, you just need
Whether,
employees.
Look,
Yeah.
You don't have to be intelligent to be employed.
You do.
What?
Businesses, people who run businesses,
Someone who
pay the
creates
most
the
taxes.
business
They
and
pay
plays-
the most taxes.
Have you heard of Robert Kaczynski, Rich Dad Poor Dad? Have you ever heard of it? He explains the fundamental differences between being an employee and an entrepreneur.
Right.
Business owners are entrepreneurs.
Right.
Employees work for the entrepreneur.
Right.
So you don't have to be intelligent to be an employee. You can go and get a job in Lidl without being a master or having a doctorate.
You cannot join the US military if you have an IQ under 80.
why is that relevant?
What do you mean? Why that's what? What do you mean?
That's
why
one
is that
job.
relevant?
That's
For
one
the
job.
No, it doesn't matter. If you have one person that is
Basically, you have to
unqualified
be intelligent
in the
to
company.
shoot
the
the
whole
whole
thing
thing.
is gonna-
You're familiar
No,
with
you
that?
do.
Yeah, here we go.
So
Now
wait a
we'll
minute,
be in the military.
As you're
He has a
saying,
point there.
I'll be
the
able
people
to
from the
fling
north
effect.
have a higher IQ, as you're claiming. Can you explain why in the southern hemisphere, the Central Americans created the
they became aware of the concept of
IQ
zero
fluctuates,
mathematically
it's not static.
before the Northern
Central
Hemisphere.
Asian effect shows.
How is that possible? Because according to you, they should not have been able to understand the concept of zero in mathematics. Because, as you said, they're low IQ.
The same for a university. The principle of university comes from Egypt, which is sub-Saharan.
So how does that work?
So how does that work?
Look, I'm not saying I'm not saying people in that belt are stupid. Some of the biggest.
No, you just said that they're not as smart as those who are from.
Yes. Yes. You're going to have more. The capacity from people in the north is going to be more significant than people in the in that belt.
That is absolutely
no,
right.
it's not, because
are the people in Greece are they part of the Northern Hemisphere? The people in Greece.
The people in Greece.
Yeah. Are they part of that?
Yeah. So look, this is all going in circles.
No, but it's trying to understand, because you've made a major claim that people from the north, primarily Caucasians, have a higher IQ.
Yeah.
And I just pointed out people below who are not in the north who created the concept of zero in mathematics before the Caucasians did.
On average,
so
Caucasians have a lower IQ than Mongoloids.
But taking your average European, even if he comes from a savage
Caucasoids
background,
have a lower IQ than Mongoloids.
This is
on average.
a different scenario. All right, there's the European Revolution that started from the Dark Ages to the 15th century. From that time, there was this big ascendance of killing off 1% of the violent low IQ population, executing people for murder, all that stuff.
How do you know they're low IQ?
What?
No, just go on.
Yeah, we got the data on this, so
How the
it's
fuck do you know
objective.
their IQ then?
The point, and.
But look, guys, what are you trying to unravel with this conversation? What is the
he's saying
point?
from what I managed to get him to say is that A, Caucasians have a higher IQ, and those who are not Caucasian have a lower IQ. And I asked him, so what happens what's the end game? He says you had to control a way in which the lower IQ breed.
It's the whole master
okay, but wait, with that logic, should we just lay down for our East Asian overlords? Because they have a slightly higher IQ than us. Should we just say, okay, East Asians, come here, you're going to rule us from now on.
Well, I don't know.
You're going to be the ruling class all around the world. I mean, they do have a slightly higher IQ.
Yeah, but you're not talking about eliminating people with a lower IQ. That's what he's insinuating.
But look, okay, let's talk about this.
Because he said
Bro, you're transparent. Just let me
in
tell you
Scandinavia, there was this.
Don't you think?
In Scandinavia,
Wait.
He's using it for some type of a political motivational agenda to be controversial.
He's just trying to say the master race should rule and shit.
Okay, guys,
You're transparent.
let's not
You're
go into
transparent.
The problem is that the supposed master race has learned everything else from sub-Saharan
Look,
Africa.
Eugenics doesn't have to be racist or whatever.
Listen,
the Nazis were shit at
let's
ideas of
just
just
get
genders,
something straight. Do we all agree that the most capable, most intelligent people will inevitably, eventually rise to power?
And Trump is the president.
Do you think Trump is stupid?
Yes.
How?
No, he's not.
I disagree.
That I'll give you that.
disagree.
The man is a genius.
Exactly.
But
Mad genius, maybe.
He could be a
he's still a
buffoon, but
genius.
still smart.
He's still a genius.
He's not a madman.
You have to give
You
credit
might
where
call
credit's
him a
due.
very bad person.
He's a fool,
and I will,
he's good.
I won't agree with you, but I'll respect your opinion. But Trump is definitely not an idiot.
I would actually like to retract that. He's actually right. I made a horrible conflation. Yeah, I would actually agree that he actually might be an intelligent or smart person. I would grant that.
Yeah,
but he's
that's
a terrible
person.
person.
That's the first problem with what you
Exactly
said.
that. He's a terrible individual.
Thank you. I'm
But
sorry.
as a
You're
person,
right. You're right. I'm
Yeah, but
sorry.
being a terrible
genius to put
individual has
two
nothing to do
classes
with being
against each other.
intelligent or not. An intelligent person can be terrible or can be great.
Yeah, so it's irrelevant.
It has nothing to do with
it's
it.
irrelevant.
Now, let me tell you something else about this. It doesn't matter all that much whether Trump is intelligent or not, because he might not be the actual person in charge.
Oh, well, now we're going into conspiracy
No. This is much more than conspiracy theories, because I can give you exact...
but you're going to end up going into conspiracy.
Wait. I can pinpoint you examples of this.
I didn't say I disagree.
And the best example...
But my point is this conversation is detracting from the topic.
No.
We were talking about whether sub-Saharan Africans are less intelligent than North Africans. You're now going into whether the president
Guys,
is really
I
in
am
control.
going over the topic because the topic you're having is completely and utterly irrelevant.
To you. We were actually having this conversation.
It's irrelevant to the people who actually matter, to the people with some intelligence.
Look, this might be a great topic, but it's not the one we're discussing.
It's not the one
here.
we were talking about.
Okay, so what's the topic?
We can finish it. We can finish this
Who
one
has
up.
the highest IQ? Is that the topic?
No, he just claimed
it's just a pissing match of highest IQ.
It wasn't just that. It was a case of what do you do to the people who have a lower IQ, and he said something.
Okay, what do you do to the people who have lower IQ?
What do we do? You could voluntarily.
It's not voluntarily, so don't say voluntarily to make it sound less bad than what the result would be.
I'm not going to force them to.
Sure, you're not.
Yeah,
but you know,
Hitler didn't want to originally force the Jews, but you know what happened.
That's the problem. We don't have to force anyone to do anything. The most intelligent people will automatically rise to power. You don't have to create a system that does that. Every system is like that.
And we're saying when they rise to power.
Oh, come on.
No, what
that's the same argument as Trump. Boris Johnson is no fool. He might be a bad person if you consider him a bad person, but he's no fool.
No, I did.
So Putin is a highly intelligent. Putin is a genius, and I hate his guts.
That's fine.
But he's a genius.
No. In the case, look, in the case of Trump and Putin, I'm willing to agree. But in case of Boris Johnson, he's just been proven to be systematically incompetent.
I disagree.
The question is, once the people with higher IQ get to the top, what do they then do to the people they consider to have low IQ?
What do the people who have higher IQ do to the people with lower IQ?
And that's what he was giving.
They don't have to do
that's not what
all
he was
that much.
saying.
My question is,
Look, it's just how the world works. Some people are more intelligent than others.
Yeah, we don't
and intelligent people will rise to power. It's the natural way.
Nobody's disputing that. It's what do you then do to the people you think are low IQ?
Well, how about?
Well, they'll probably just get a shittier job. That's how it is.
Yeah.
You don't have to do anything.
How about we give them welfare for life if they sterilize themselves voluntarily?
How about I sterilize you right now?
So you're
I give you welfare.
No, guys, let's not get violent. Let's not get violent.
No.
And IQ.
He's the one. Give me the source of that. Give me the source.
Yeah, just look it up.
What's the source?
Give me the source.
Just go on IQ
What about the
studies.
poverty
No,
rate?
give me the source.
Have you ever checked like other variables involved?
Yeah, give me the source of that.
Just go on IQ studies of the national average.
Give me the source.
Do you want a link?
Yes, I want. Yes, that's what the source is. It's a link.
It's on the website www.cullallethnicitiesexceptformine.com.
What? Australians have less IQ than sub-Saharan Africans. Aboriginals.
Well, there's your answer. Youth to sterilization. That's what he says.
I disagree.
I'm sorry. That's just it is the shitty world.
I'm glad we established it because I
Every
disagree.
single time that's tried to happen, where an ethnic group has tried to be cleansed, it's backfired.
I'm not picking on any ethnic group.
Really?
I
You're not?
will sterilize low IQ white people.
So
as well.
would there be a mandatory IQ test in your world that people would have to
And
take?
who would decide and how the IQ gets measured?
Exactly
Besides,
what I was
I'm
gonna
sorry,
ask.
the IQ measurement has been under criticism for a very, very, very long time. And there's actually a couple of scales for intelligence as well, but that's a secondary topic.
Right.
By the way, why does intelligence need to be the primary sort of highest pinnacle of everything we should achieve? When we can have.
Do you want nuclear factories to run?
What?
Do you want nuclear factory? Do you want nuclear power plants to keep on running?
Yes, I want them to keep running if that doesn't mean that I'll have to endure forced sterilization and discrimination from people like you. So I would much rather have a nuclear power plant, which I have right now. Look at this.
We're heading for the dark ages anyway. So.
Look, we have a world where the nuclear power plants are running, where the economy is doing fine, and we don't have forced sterilization of people. So, to be quite perfectly honest, you live in the world that you say is going to be
voluntary.
It's not really.
Oh, yeah.
You psychologically blackmail them. You can work for nothing and be all right.
Let me just tell you, you're transparent, man. And you're not fooling anyone, right? You're not fooling anyone.
Okay. Let's approach this from a different angle.
What I find interesting.
I'll go after you.
What would you do if your own policy backfired against you?
So.
So you are in the position of power. Yep. You are the ruler of England now, and you decided that this will become law. You vetoed it. It goes through the House of Parliament. Blah blah blah. Everyone has to take this mandatory test. It turns round, and you are low IQ.
Right.
Do you stop that, or do you sterilise yourself?
My choice. I said voluntarily sterilise. And if that was the case, I would for the better for my nation.
No, you would
Yeah, but
not.
look,
The nation.
No, you would
do you
not.
really think? Wait, guys.
It's a noble sacrifice.
Okay,
to
guys.
Cherish your nation in the long term.
So what's more important, people or the nation?
What does that mean? People, the nation. People are nation.
Exactly. So you should prioritize the people, not the fucking nation.
And you help.
I'm sorry.
I got policies of how to have.
Oh, I bet you do.
Have low
I
IQ
bet you do.
people having the most fulfilling life, more so than high IQ people.
By being on benefits.
No.
and being sterilized, like Alan Turing.
Instead of
welfare is making us
sterilized because he was
Isn't that kind of what already is happening?
Yeah, exactly.
and he cracked
With
the
all the
Enigma code
abortion and all
outbeat
that
the Germans.
bullshit.
Exactly.
So that's the kind of world he wants us to live.
Yes.
leading to decrease in intelligence.
Yes.
No.
Partly.
Abortion.
No, partly.
Look,
middle
you might
class
call
women are having the most abortions. They are, on average, have high IQs, meaning that they're going to be...
or they simply have more access.
I'm very
to
against
And
abortion.
it's nothing to do
And I
with
am of the
intelligence,
opinion,
it's to do with the fact that
yes,
they want a
I am
career.
of the opinion
That's the
that
trend.
people who will commit the most abortions are honestly the
So women
stupidest
shouldn't,
people.
so women shouldn't have a career.
People who will commit the most abortions are honestly the stupidest people.
Or just because they just might be they have really shit environment.
If a middle class white
man,
woman is
That
raped, sorry,
too.
not
But
white.
listen,
A
if
middle
you
class
look
woman
at
is
the
raped.
world, ironically,
And
the
do
people
not-
with the
does not want
worst
to have a
kind of
child.
life are the
That's
ones
their
who are
right.
committing the least abortions. Perhaps it's because they don't have the means to do the abortion. But the most abortions are being done are being done in the countries that have the most means for it. So I would say that abortions might be a cruel way of killing people who don't see the truth behind the abortions, which is to eliminate the parts of the population that are not being wanted. You can basically brainwash people to just abort their children to reproduce less.
But there's a difference there.
I'm personally very much against abortion.
Let me give you an example.
Yes.
Let me give you an example. Oh God, are we going into abortion? Are we finished with the race?
No, we haven't finished with the race.
Okay, so let's not go
Why
into
can't
abortion.
the people with high IQ in your world try and uplift the people who have a low IQ and make
That's
the
what we're
world
trying to
better?
do.
But you're talking about killing them off.
No, I did not say that. I
Yes,
said
you did.
voluntarily stop having children.
What if that doesn't work?
It doesn't work.
What if they don't?
Oh, it works in Scandinavia.
No, but what if they
I mean, what
choose?
if they don't want?
Yeah.
They don't-
That's their choice. That's fine.
So you still have a nation of idiots.
Yeah, you're always going to have a nation of
So then
idiots.
what happens?
Yeah, good example, right?
No, the point
And
is...
most of the people,
The
high
point is
IQ
that
or
at
low
that
IQ,
point, if you really want it to happen, it
the
becomes that
point
you will
is-
march everyone to get
The point
sterilized.
is that in this,
but
if we continue this
that's
road,
contrary to human nature.
we are going to
Contrary to
get
human
less
nature.
intelligent.
Yeah.
Our IQ is going to digress back to the Tudor times, meaning that we're not going to have a welfare state. We're not going to continue operating these nuclear factories.
Based on studies
we
you
are not
cannot
going to go
provide.
into space.
Yeah, exactly.
Based on studies and data you can
Depends on
provide.
what you believe.
What?
It depends on what you believe. People believe that
We
civilizations went to
cannot
space.
even fix the technology that led us to the moon in the original
your
Apollo.
society-
Do you know why we're not going back to the moon, my friend?
We are.
I mean, why would we stop?
What?
We are going back to the moon. Why did we stop?
Because there's not much incentive, because we were no longer in competition with the Soviets.
One more reason. Exactly. There was no more incentive. Apart from the
But
collapse of
there
the solar
is.
tradition.
There's like trillions of resources in asteroids.
Dude, there's
and-
trillions of resources here that we cannot extract. Why the fuck would I go to the moon to extract resources when there are the same
no,
ones
not
that I
the moon.
couldn't extract here?
Asteroids.
That's a good
We can
point.
have satellites to
I'd
just
like to
grab
answer.
them, take to the moon. And then
You're
we
so
connect
smart, you build it.
I'm not claiming to be smart.
Oh well, I don't
He's
know.
on the voluntary sterilization.
claiming
I,
to be
for
smart
one, am
kind
not.
of sounds like you're cutting the branch you're sitting on.
All right.
So your society is not a meritocracy. It's based purely on genetics. You were born with a high IQ. Through your genes.
Your
With the
intelligence
space
is 80%
emperor on
genetic.
top.
And if a non-white person happens to have a high IQ, that's pure. Why? Why would that happen?
No, but it's not to do with
You
colour.
understand how the bell curve
It's not
works?
to do with colour.
How-
It doesn't, the colour has nothing to do with
because why would
Okay,
a
look,
non-white
how
person get
low does your IQ have to be for them to sterilize you? I think that's a pertinent
Anything under
question.
80.
80? Under 80?
Yeah.
Dude, fuck, that's most of the world.
Yeah,
I know.
Okay, so seeing that
But
we
in this
live...
country, our average is 100.
Okay. Seeing that we
Everywhere
live,
is 100,
seeing that we
my
live
friend.
in a mostly
That's why
democratic
it's called
world,
the
right?
average.
Guys, this is important. Seeing that we live in a mostly democratic world, how the bloody hell are you gonna make most of the population sterilize themselves if they have the most votes?
Yeah, but you shouldn't
Oh,
do
that's
it
the thing. We
anyway.
need to restrict the franchise.
So
Democracy.
you'll take away voter rights,
Yep.
Yeah.
bribe people to sterilize themselves,
Yep.
and eventually cause a mass decline of ethnic.
Yeah. And the population will go down.
I don't quite see
Well,
how
what do you
that's
think would
functional.
happen
Yeah,
if,
but
if,
you see,
if the majority of
population had to be
people,
right,
as
that's
per
what
your
population,
assumption, are
that's
from
what
sub-Saharan
population,
Africa, right?
The sex for
And they all get
population, what do you
culled.
call that word?
Who's left?
proclamation.
Let me go on about that. I got you.
You see, you have to have that. Like,
Not without sources, my friend. I'm not going to let you talk out of your ass.
Really masked way of trying to pretend to not be racist. That's what it sounds like.
No. You're assuming that I think.
No, I said it sounds like
are dumb. I did not say that once.
It's what you have said.
I said
you said
people
that
in the northern hemisphere, on average, have high IQ than on the belt of.
Layman's terms, those who are from above sub-Saharan Africa are smarter, and those who are below are stupid.
The thing is,
so you are masking this political agenda for your own racist ideology.
Australia, same thing. India, all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So all the ethnic.
Yeah, I'm not speaking. I am not demonizing a single
for the yellow
racial
Chinese,
group.
East Asians, and the Caucasians would get told. That's what you're telling me.
look,
Southern Asia.
Aboriginal geography defines race, and you're defining IQ on geography, which means IQ is race.
It's not Darwinism.
Yes, it is.
Darwinism is natural.
Yes.
What you're talking is not natural.
How is it not
forcing
natural?
that hand.
By the way, there's a huge problem in your plan, and I'll tell you. Even if we go along with your sort of silly plan of sterilization, you know what's going to happen? You're going to decrease the genetic variation in the general population until you have basically a single strand of mutations. That means that everyone's going to be an inbred Indian. So you literally
eventually everyone will end up being that.
That is absolute rubbish. I don't know.
That's basic genetics. You should look it up.
Phenogenetic diversity.
The reason in the Industrial Revolution IQ went big because of the diversity, because instead of just being in one village.
Yeah, but where did all of that diversity come from?
What do you mean? No, I'm saying
During the Industrial Revolution, where did all that diversity come from?
I'm saying within Britain, we built rail lines.
Which were built by who?
White people.
You sure about that?
You think black people built rail lines?
No, I didn't say black people.
No, he asked you who built
the Chinese and Asians
in Britain.
Came over in Britain and the US and did that.
Yeah, pretty much.
So we were too lazy to make rail lines
go on.
We just needed Chinese and Indian people.
No, you've used everybody.
In Africa, you got a point.
You've used everybody.
I didn't
You've
use
used everybody. Yes, not you, as in your culture has used everybody for their own engagement. So that's the diversity. That's where you got your strengths from. The fact that you got these people and they learned from them, and now you can run your show.
Oh no, that is a good point. The British Empire had a lot of advantages by diversifying and using the merits of other populations. But at the end of the day, the British had a revolution where the IQ, went from, which was like the equivalent of sub-Saharan Africa, to like 150.
But why? But why?
Environmental factors.
No, because you learned from those populations.
No.
It is fact. It is fact.
Where?
What do you mean where? Throughout the whole of history. If a culture wants to learn and develop, they go and see other cultures, find out what works, what doesn't work, and build upon it.
So you're saying that Britain had no original ideas?
No one had no original ideas.
So you think, Darwin? Do you think he stole that idea from anyone?
I don't know.
Darwinism.
But what you said anyway contradicts what you said originally. Originally, IQ was based on genetics. Now you're saying environmental factors.
80% of our intelligence or IQ is genetically. And
according to who?
It's just the...
No, close the studies. You can't just talk for the sake of talking. I hate when
you want me to have a Wikipedia knowledge of all these things.
Well, if I'm going to speak about something, I can reference it to something.
Right.
That's the whole point of a debate and the whole point of a
how about
point.
This? Next week, we'll have all the data we need to talk about IQ in this particular subject. Can we agree?
That's fine.
All right, cool. Right, I'll see you guys next week for that.
So you're going to do your research, huh?
No. I'm going to get the data which I've already researched. I just don't have a...
You've got your phone on you. You can Google it and bring it up.
Yeah, but you want me to find actual websites.
You can literally, if you're Googling it, it comes up with the website. You're running away from the argument.
I am not running away.
Because you don't have fact. This is all based on your opinion.
No, this is objective.
No. It's your subjective.
You're the one who's subjective.
Slight racist opinion.
Slight racist opinion. Yeah.
Oh, it is slight racist. It is slight racist.
How?
What do you mean how? You yourself even said that purging the South Asians is one of the advantages. That was your own words.
Sorry, repeat that.
That purging the South Asians, was one of the advantages. You said that would be an advantage. When I said about South Asians?
South Asians.
Yes, because they're underneath the South Saharan barrier. That they're a part of it.
That's a different case because
It's a different case. What? Because they're not from Africa.
No. Most of the population's from China.
South Asia. That's China's East Asia.
You're talking about Thailand and
That's East Asia.
Oh, East Asia. Oh, South Asia.
South Asia, India, Pakistan.
India. Yeah. All right.
Mauritius.
Yeah. Again, yeah. That's
I guess. So again, you proved my point.
Yeah, that's the issue. A big population where there's
where you're not the majority, so therefore they must be bad.
No.
That's a typical British colonial
That's the thing.
idea.
India is having real issues trying to send rockets into space.
They're not having. Are you crazy?
They are. They've just had a
They're one of the
malfunction
most
recently.
upcoming. They're one of the most upcoming. Them in China, in terms of economic and intelligent growth, China and South Asia, India are the telecoms giants.
But India's
etc.
India's average
different case,
average IQ is 80, whilst China's probably 105. That is the data. I'm not speaking out of my ass.
Please bring it up.
Oh, let's see if I find that. There we go.
So genetics and environmental factors have enabled the white race to be much more
Smarter. Yep.
Right.
That is as idiotic as when they used to say that black people are stupid because of a curve in your skull.
I'm not judging it on skull measurements.
Oh, it's cool.
No, but that's the same thing. That's your genetics. That's your genetics. How your skull is formed is your genetics.
No. You could.
Oh no, it's not now. It's not. Okay.
No.
Yes, it is.
No.
How you're telling me how your body is comprised, how it's shaped is nothing to do with your genetics. Are you telling me how your body is comprised, is shaped, is nothing to do with your genetics?
Of course it's to do with your genetics.
So therefore, it goes back to what I said. The original Caucasian idea during slavery was that black people were stupid because of a curve in the back of their skull.
Neanderthals had bigger brains than we do. Does not
Size
mean
of the
they're
brain
more
does not link to
But that is
intelligence.
what you were suggesting.
No,
that
it's
white
not.
people said,
No, it's not. You have talked about genetics meaning you are inferior. I've given an example as to why white people have thought this before and it was disproven.
No, it wasn't disproven.
It was disproven. What are you talking about?
Which bit are you talking about?
What I said, that the shape of your
race
skull,
like,
you proved my point. The shape of your skull determines your intelligence. That's what you during slavery, one of the most prevalent points of black intelligence was.
And then we found more sophisticated ways to judge those things. But
using IQ, a system that you invented.
Yes, and the Nazis did not accept
so it's not
IQ.
fair.
The Nazis did not accept IQ. That's what you need to understand. The Nazis were against IQ. Otherwise, they have to admit that the Ashkenazi Jews are smarter.
Would you agree that the IQ test could be culturally biased?
Fundamentally flawed.
No.
IQ tests are flawed.
No, did you say no?
No, because,
because I say so. That's literally your argument throughout the whole of this thing is because I say so, because I say so, because I say so.
Well,
you get to present facts.
So why
I've given you facts and references.
Why are IQ tests not culturally biased? Potentially culturally biased?
Because
they weren't equal.
We've been doing this for hundreds of years now. Are you saying that we still haven't got the edge of how we can make a very non-biased test?
Yes, exactly that.
Really?
Exactly that.
So all right, fine.
Do you truly believe that if something is created by one culture to elevate that culture means that it would be equal?
So why are East Asians doing better than whites?
In what field?
In IQ.
Depends on what field.
So we created a system making East Asians on average smarter than white people.
Depends on your agreement with that people.
All right. So it's a conspiracy of East Asians and white people. Making a system that's unfair.
But it's also it does depend on your agreement, and it also does depend on what has happened, because many cultures, unfortunately, the black culture isn't one of them, have learned from what the European cultures have gone and used it against them. Hence why I'll draw back to what I've said. South Asia and East Asia are on the rise because they've used what was done originally to bide their time, learn from those mistakes, and grow themselves. That has not happened.
Capitalism.
That has not.
And capitalism.
China is not
capitalism in East Asia.
Well, in Southeast Asia.
East Asia.
Thailand and Vietnam, their economy is growing thanks to capitalism.
Are they capitalist? Are you sure they're a capitalist state?
It's much more capitalist than it was before.
Are they a capitalist state?
There's no such thing as a pure capitalism in this day and age.
Yeah, you should know that. You should know
I know that, but if you could bring in certain models that is going to create a freer market, then that is going to elevate the resources and the GDP.
Where are you getting your results from? Because you're very specific in saying Caucasians or Northerners have a higher IQ compared to other people. Yeah. How has this been collected, all this data?
And who's collecting it? They've done surveys.
For how many people? How many people are in this survey?
Yeah, what was the sample size?
I have to look that up exactly, but I don't think they're just like making this up when you see it.
No, but like how many people are in this survey that you're using?
They get pockets of people.
It's still going on.
Well, 100 people, 50 people.
I'm trying to explain to them why certain populations have different IQs.
No, he was trying to explain to me, where did you get the data?
Jay, what was you doing on your phone? Sitting around for text?
Sorry, bro, I don't.
There's only so much I can do.
Where do you get your data from?
And a clean drone strike in Raspect 10, hack.
Where do you get your data from for the IQ? How many people were tested for you to come to your conclusion?
So here's the best way to look at IQ data today, right? You've got the components of the IQ test, we know what they are,
yes.
And then you have different ways to administer. The largest mandatory testing is by the armed forces. The army forces are taking IQ tests. But the modern version of the data is a subcomponent that's short for graduate entrance exams in the United States, everywhere. So you can be a little Vietnamese guy, a tall Nigerian guy, a little fat, a skinny Indian guy with big ears, and you take the same IQ entrance test, which factors out the core component. That data is tested by everyone again and again, shows the same pattern.
You said graduate system. Are you taking into consideration people going into university in African countries, or is it just...
No, it's a test you can do in any, because you can't change IQ. So I speak with lots of high IQ people for some science work. So I know this Nigerian kid at Caltech, he's 21, his IQ is 230. I feel stupid around it. I mean, I feel really stupid.
But how does that make you feel? Because he's not white, though.
No, but no, this is the point.
So this is the point. Okay.
This is the point. So the point is, you immediately try and race bait. Like immediately, you start talking about white people and Africans.
That's what he was doing.
That's where he came from. It's nothing to do with us. So don't join the conversation halfway and then talk crap. Pardon? What's my name?
My boy.
No, so don't assume.
That's the reason race came into it is because he mentioned
Okay, but because IQ's a
But what you could do is you could look at, so as a white person, I know that you like to say it as a black man a lot, I could say it as a white man.
There's the averages,
Why is it
85, 100.
Yeah, okay, but why is it that South Asian children outperform white workers?
We've had this conversation. Ralph and I actually had this conversation. It's to do with culture and the families pushing. Culture and genetics are two different things. They are two different things.
So you can't deny.
No, it's not genetics.
But no one is a geneticist.
Black people are faster runners, so that's genetics.
That is genetics.
So how's
it's to do with our extra bone in our foot. Our bone. It's why we're worse swimmers than white people. Our bones are heavier. That's genetics.
So do you believe that if every part of the body can be genetic except the mind?
No. But the mind is a muscle, and as with everything, it's trained and flexed and learns. So what you get marked on, if that system is not created to be an equal barrier, which has been proven to be,
but
you won't get the equal results.
No. Do you know that skin color is not even in the top 20 differences of race?
Yep.
Right, it's not even in the top 20. Your morphology, it isn't. Skin color is not the top 20. If you accept...
You're diverting from the thing.
If Indian guys, unlike you guys, I have a propensity for type 2 diabetes.
Black
It's
people also do
genetic.
that.
Yeah, but I have a much higher, and heart attacks at a certain age.
Okay.
That's genetic.
Let's say we all agree. Let's say we all agree with the both of you.
Yep.
So there are certain people who have a high IQ. What is supposed to be done to the people who you believe have a low IQ?
Me, down, my brother, finally. As a
Down.
Christian, I keep arguing for race and IQ
Down.
because the largest population expansion will come from Africa with a group average low IQ. As a Christian, it is my duty to care for them most. Not the high IQ guy. He's going to be fucking fine. He doesn't need me.
So what the whole purpose of this is to identify low IQ people to look after them.
That would be different to what he's. That would be Ralph. That would be very different to what he's saying, which is
Did I not say
they should be culled voluntarily, which eventually turns into.
I didn't say there should not be involuntary sterilization. I
didn't say that, but you said it's your duty to care for them.
I didn't say there should be.
I want low IQ to have the. I want low IQ people to have the most effective plants as possible.
Yeah, what is love? to sterilize.
Yeah.
You
Love
said
is
you
to
wish to
sterilize.
love them.
Well, it is to a
Ralph,
certain
you
extent.
said you want to love them. How do
Well,
you
it is
love
to a
them?
certain
What
extent,
define
because
love?
The way to love for us as a Christian, the way to love is to express the fruits of
If you bring a
Christ.
child into the world, you can't look after it. You can't care.
How?
That's a good.
You're there.
That is not to do with your IQ, though. I'm sure there are millions upon millions of people who are academically inferior to others who will make better parents than it would be for those with genius IQ.
No, it's worse than
But
that.
if
my
you don't
friend.
have the IQ to determine the fact that you can't afford to support a child, then you have a child. Those two, and it's
Producing more low IQ people. Yeah.
Say that again?
So I can give you a simple example of how IQ works. So I go down the place I've lived for the last 7-8 years. I go down to my local Sainsbury's. It's a large Bengali population. The act of getting my cigarettes and closing the transaction takes 6 planned movements. She does it in 14 and 18 steps every day, the same way, and she does it differently every time. The woman who serves me. IQ determines your profession. She will never be your...
So how did she
if
get
you had
that
a
job in the
heart
first
attack,
place?
If you're going to have a heart attack, she can't do a repetitive... I don't want her operating on your heart, my friend. That's an example of IQ predicting the profession.
No.
I do not want that woman to...
You're telling me a child who's born is more genetically predisposed to be a brain surgeon than a child that is born.
What I'm saying is,
What
I'm saying is, repeated studies show IQ predicts profession.
Okay.
Not race, not background.
A dispute to that, because his point was sub-Saharan Africans are less intelligent on average. It doesn't matter if we say on average; it's still saying the same thing.
I would say
it's still saying the same.
Sub-Saharan Africans are
You
more
use the
intelligent
example
than me.
of surgery. The first open heart surgeon was what? Of what man? A black man. So how's that marry up?
That's a mistake because you're equating one point of the curve for the whole group.
No, it's not
There will be
equating
a
the whole
one open heart black surgeon.
So where was the black guy? Where was he educated? Because that's the sticking point. Because if he's saying sub-Saharan Africans in sub-Saharan Africa are less intelligent, that's probably a lot.
So then he didn't. He just said sub-Saharan Africans. No, we've given him ample opportunity to clarify. His point was sub-Saharan Africa. So if the argument is, no matter where you are in the world, if you're from sub-Saharan Africa, you are stupider than your northern hemispherical counterpart. Yes, exactly. So is the border fair?
Correct.
Is the playing field fair?
But it's not my responsibility to educate.
I'm not talking about it's your responsibility. I'm talking about is it fair? Yes or no? It's a yes or no question. And we all know the answer is no. It's not fair. How is it not?
Because
if your educational system here allows you to excel in every single field, those who are here. Those who are here.
It could be the argument that going into bad schools is a good thing for you.
Your people,
Say that again?
It's the argument that going to a bad school is good for
the
you.
IQ system that you're championing.
Going to a bad school is good for you.
Yeah, because if you're actually intelligent,
all I was doing is I was just
if you're
questioning
subpar intelligence, you're going to do better than anyone in that.
That's not actually true because
and
there's
that's
actually
good for your mental health.
There are ample studies that show if your parents do not excel your early signs of intelligence, you end up just as stupid as the average show.
No.
Yes, there are.
There are.
Yes,
but
there are.
That's misunderstanding IQ. I'm trying to find something for you.
Yeah,
So you're telling me IQ has no link to education?
Only to get you to your... So the brain develops neuroplasticity that terminates at 30-35. So if you look at the peak intellectual profession in the world, it's probably a theoretical mathematician or a theoretical physicist. That's the hardest thing to think. That brain at 30-35, if you have not got your Nobel Prize, you never will. A small child grows to 5 to 8 to 13 and tries to get their maximum potential. If they're sitting in a village, shitting themselves with no school, they're not going to make their potential. They're not going to make their potential. But when they do make their potential, we see group averages. To take race out of it, because it's controversial, let me switch gender. Gender has difference in IQ. So the gender IQ is they're more genius men and more idiot men. Women are less geniuses and less idiots. So their bell curve is flatter and inside. The curve is shorter inside. Yeah,
Where's this study? Because I've never heard this before.
So you can see the IQ difference shows up in gender and it shows up in race.
He's
So one
using
person
the
might not
bell
get,
curve,
but I can't be
which is
made
commonly
smarter.
used amongst the
You
far
can't be
right.
made smarter by studying.
So it's a political.
Well, if I give you an IQ
political
test right now, and I
invalid.
told you to take it again, I told you to study and take it again, study, take it again on live stream, your score will just end up being the same.
And it's actually
you cannot
not
make
being
yourself
used.
brighter.
Wait, say that again.
Right,
So
if you take an IQ test, study, let's do it on live stream, take another IQ test, study, take it again, study as many times as you want, and you see your score will quickly come down to your number, and you can't study to be smarter. You can study to know more crystallized knowledge, but you won't be able to run your
yeah,
engine
well, that
quicker.
goes back to what he was
The
saying
only way is to
about
have children with
genetics.
someone else, and then you inherit IQ.
I don't know about that.
I don't agree with that.
So you said, so you're saying
science.
IQ is fixed.
What you said about you said it's used by the far right.
The
It's not actually
hereditary
used by the far right.
component
It's
is
talking about
fixed,
colour
what you're
population.
given,
That's a
and
policy
then what
being
you
used
do
by
with it
the far
depends on your
left, by the
environment. But you
Clintons.
can't do more than what
The
you're given.
Democrats.
You
far
can't,
left
do more.
who
You
do
can't
that?
be taller
Who
than your
are far
maximum
left doing
height.
that?
The Democrats in the United
Your
States.
height is a genetic
You
concept.
are telling
You
people
can
not to have
train,
children.
stretch yourself, but
Where?
you'll never be taller than you're taller.
No, it's the far right who've turned
No, it's the
around.
environmentalists.
In America, who've turned around.
Environmentalists.
Environmentalists. No, they're not environmentalists. They're what's the name?
They're going on baby strike.
What's their name? They believe no one should have children.
Antinatalists.
That's it. That's it. They're not. They're a different. They're a different breed.
The Democrats have been on the news. They've been on CNN and CNBC of late, talking about people not having too many children, which is population.
But it's only directed to white people.
How so?
Because we are the oppressors, apparently.
So then you have modern morality questions to answer.
You need
So by
evidence
2050
for
we have
that.
10 billion people. How do we love
Kobe.
the bottom IQ? What do we do
Sorry,
with
no, I don't let people stroke him. Sorry, brother. Come here. Sit.
Yeah, he's not allowed love.
No, he gets a lot, but from his family. So be careful what you say.
Why would you bring a dog to a speaker's corner and then not let
Because he's here with me. If you brought your child here, would you let them touch everybody?
I don't have a child, but I'd let them say hello to
There
people.
you go.
I would be
To
don't
complete
speak to that-
strangers.
Don't speak to that man.
Have you never heard of stranger danger? You never heard of stranger? There you go.
So what if you had a
It's
son and
dog.
he came here?
Yes, he's a dog. He's got a job.
children.
He's got a job.
Has he?
And his job isn't to let everybody be friends with him.
Okay. He's a guard dog.
He's my family's guard dog.
In-group preference.
He's my family's dog.
Why does it have to be a question? If he's the owner
If
of
I
the dog,
exactly,
and
that's the
you do it.
decision I make. No, you're trying to make a laugh out of something you don't actually understand.
I just wouldn't bring my dog here and be like,
accept
don't
your
touch my
decision.
dog.
Yeah, you have no choice but to.
I haven't touched your dog.
Yeah, I know. You have. You're smarter than to.
You're a very irrational person.
I'm not irrational. It's actually pretty rational to turn around and say, "Don't touch my dog," because it's my dog.
You just switch.
I mean, don't touch my dog, please. It's very nice.
Well, is that not what I've said to you, Ralph?
Yeah, of course.
Exactly. And have I treated anyone else differently?
haven't been
No. No one is allowed to touch my dog because he's my dog and he's got his job, and that's not to be your friend.
So
That's
to bless-
simple.
We're going to kidnap him and take that. We're going to reprogram him.
No, it's nothing to do with that. But no. Do you know what? No. Speaking on that, yes, it is that. It is that. It is programming. It is No, I'm not riled up. It's programming. It is programming. Because if I allow everybody to exactly, if you allow everyone to socialise and touch.
In-group back preference. I respect that. It's a right
Thank
value.
you. Thank you.
Like it. Anyway, you
Yes,
talk
go on.
standing here.
So to conclude everything, the people who have a higher IQ, according to you, should show love and Christian-like
Not high
behavior.
IQ. No, not by high IQ. We as Christians, even as low IQ Christians, should love people who need our help.
And you want voluntary
We're all in
sterilization.
Yeah, you want culling of nations basically, whereas you want to love everyone and then cull.
Empire. No, humane organization of ours. Under
still
one
have an
God, Queen and country, the highest morality.
What if they don't want to follow
So what if
your
their
way
country
of
doesn't have a
Christianity?
queen?
Oh well, it's our job to restore. It's our job to restore the empire.
So we're gonna go on the crusades again.
Right now.
All right, how about this?
And we had this conversation as well. We did have it, I know.
No, come on.
Yeah, I know, listen, I know, I do agree with you, but
How about this?
Where are the far right black brothers who are willing to join us in the fight?
How about this as a solution?
Don't be scared of the lefties.
We give
Emancipate
we
yourself
give
from
tax
mental
cuts
slavery.
to high IQ families for having children.
What is that, Chief?
all
What do you
right.
mean that achieves it? Allows the families to have a stronger position in life if they're being taxed less, but they're having more children, meaning it's going to be better for society in the long run.
Do you know why this won't work? This is like the one-child policy in China, where they did that
to make children, not less children.
No, but you are, but you're not, because if you cull an amount of people, you won't get the same population.
I mean,
Cull. If you cull a certain amount of people, because that's what it is. We can say sterilization, but you're culling a people.
Remember, I'm not being specific to any race.
I didn't say. I said a people. Right? It's the same as China's one-child policy, which they recently reversed.
Which is a fucking dud.
Because eventually you realise you don't have enough to bring the economy to where it needs to be. So they brought in people to be work. They said, all right, you can have more children, so we have more of a workforce. If you do the same thing, you'll have that. If you do the same thing, you'll end up having the same issues. And you'll end up having to say, do you know what, all right, we can have you.
I'm just trying to balance out things, because right now, low IQ, low class people are having way more children than people of upper class, high IQ. We need to balance it out. We need less people of low IQ background having children, and more people of high IQ background having more children.
And one of the ways you want to do that is with the tax credit that you mentioned.
Yeah, tax incentives for high IQ people and voluntary sterilization, but in reward of having a lot of wealth, money.
Can I ask you?
Benefits.
Is genetic intelligence recessive or dominant?
What does that mean?
Is it a recessive trait or dominant trait?
It could be, but here's how it works. There's not one gene. There are 20,000 genes. We've sequenced them all. 516 or 520, that cluster is intelligence. We still don't understand them. And here's the pattern. For low IQ and a high IQ person mate, 75% of the time they recede to the average. And 25% of the time...
So then how do you make high intelligence?
No, but 25% of the time, if it's cross racial, it moves both clusters forward.
So they become more intelligent.
Only 25%, 75% recess backwards, 25% hop the cluster forward. So I'm an example of such a supreme breeding.
It's called regression to the mean.
You're intelligently bred.
No, I'm a eugenic accident, the same thing. And my wife is descended from the Wagner, Hitler's favorite composer, gene pool. Our offspring will be eugenic.
So then you would have a system of
and I suggest everyone do the same thing.
And you would prevent people of different IQs from mating.
No, it's voluntary again.
It's voluntary.
If they want the tax cuts, they're going to have the IQ to prove that their children are going to have more high IQ in order to get the tax investments. Same with people who want to voluntarily sterilize themselves. They need to take the IQ test out of their own will and decide if they would want to sterilize themselves. They can have their sperm put into a laboratory
if
if
you
they
found a
change their mind
Finnish
in
girl
terms of like.
and you had a child with a Finnish girl, there's a 3 in 4 chance that your kid will be way smarter than you or your mother. Because your clusters of your haplogroup are so far away. So if you toss a coin 4 times, 3 times, you would produce a child smarter than you, and I know you're smart, bro. I'm talking to you. I clocked you day one.
You're one of the few.
Yeah, you're on the safe side of the curve, man. You're safe.
Because either we accept my idea of a system, or we're going to head for a collapse.
And it's just the truth. It's a hack.
So it has nothing to do. When is it collapsing?
There are going to be less IQ, high IQ people, then the welfare state is.
So we're right when we talk about these things because you don't do this all right. We actually genuinely explore things like, could you take in the age of occupation low IQ people, give them a very good life, and have voluntary sterilization, make them something heroes of the society. Right? They've chosen not to mate. We haven't forced them to.
For the betterment of society.
Yeah, and we give them hero positions.
So it has nothing to do. It has nothing to do with the educational system, which is being hyperinflated.
They have high IQ, they have blonde hair,
and they have social welfare. Higher taxes after people leaving. Social welfare.
It's a eugenic cop.
It's not going to be sustainable.
There are those who don't have the intelligence to work, and there are who the majority are downright lazy.
Oh, those can be sorted out. We can sort that out.
Oh, we've agreed on something for the first time.
One conversation at a time. One conversation
if you look at the US Army, for example,
yes,
they're quite a good example because they've got. Did you bring that up? They've got a minimum IQ level.
If your IQ is under 70, you're going to.
They cannot. 1882, you can only peel potatoes.
Oh yeah.
And on the 76, you have no net economic value to the army.
benefits or
it's cheap of the army not to apply and do anything with it.
A team less productive.
Now, if you imagine lots of Bangladeshi, subcontinent Indians all having massive
we've all met a few of them.
in the age of automation, you have a humanity.
Have you considered that those Bangladeshi beneficial
for that business? Not necessarily for the world as a whole.
Because those people, those IQ don't produce good society.
Like a capitalist.
Depends on how you look at it. And these are where these routes lead to.
I would say that North Korea, even though it's going through a lot of poverty, have high IQ. It's just the system that they run under is very, sponsored to allow them to innovate. But as soon as North Korea and South Korea, unite, it'll be like Germany, east and west. They'll get along very well, even though there's one that was capitalist and one that was communist. Because they're both the same ethnic kin. Anyway,
Is this still going on?
Still going.
Did you change the topic or is it still the same thing?
It's just literally just died. Literally just now.
We just exhausted ourselves.
Do you know what? At the end of the day, everyone's got their different opinions and different stances on this, and it's understanding everyone's understanding.
We'll bring the data this time.
Yes, please.
There's so much scientific articles that contradict everything. Majority of them.
Let's have it.
Bring the data, man.
So many scientific articles.
I'll make sure I get the data this time.
Yeah, sure.
Oh well, that went well. Hey, a beauty. What's your name?
Things like that.
Kobe's name. Kobe.
Oh, you better.
See, look.
Content of everything from your humanity.
Come, man, say it straight. Man, don't listen to BBC. Man, don't listen to Ideological.
That's right, Robert.
Your government is the devil itself.
That's right. Worse. That's right.
Who is the mischief? Really, you